welcome to Psyche and Spirit with Relendra. I'm Relendra, and today it's time for another installment of Real Talk with Relendra, where I talk about what's real. I just get real with how it really is. And so to start with, well, let's just dive right in, shall we? Where have I been for so long? I know that the multitudes have been clamoring for Relendra. And I was putting out some podcasts and videocast episodes, and then there's been silence for months from me. And the question is, where have I been? Well, the truth is, I've been in penance. I've been in reflection. Because my teacher, my God, my guru, otherwise known as YouTube, my father, my deity, the lawgiver, YouTube. Well, they decided to ban one of my videos. And I was like, oh, YouTube, why? What's wrong? And they told me, they sent me, it's great the way they do it. They just send you this automated message. You don't have to deal with a human being or anything. So it's better that way. And so they sent me this automated message, from their algorithms, that churn these things out. And they informed me that my video, The Sacred Right and Left, may have had, they think that it had medical misinformation in it. And so this is an 1.5 hour long video. So they didn't tell me what part of the video might have been medical information or misinformation. They didn't tell me that, which is better, right? It's better to just be kept guessing, I think. Because that's part of how YouTube teaches us. And I think, part of the, what's intended here is for me to just not say anything. That's what YouTube would prefer. To just be in fear, just like in a general floating state of fear that anything I might say could become medical misinformation, but I'll just never know what the thing was. Right? And that's a really good learning tool to help me become a better person who doesn't say bad things. And I really am grateful for YouTube, that YouTube's here to be the arbiter of what's true, of what's information and what's misinformation, of what's medical and what isn't. I'm really grateful to YouTube. But, my ego hurt, at first. I had thoughts that came up. Thoughts like, this doesn't seem fair. I don't even know what they're talking about. This is an 1.5 hour long video. And they aren't even pointing out, there must have been something that came up in their scan. Right? That they thought that those words amounted to medical misinformation. But they're not telling me what they are. So how am I supposed to learn how to be better if they won't tell me? So I had thoughts like that come up. I had other thoughts come up too. I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but I had thoughts come up I don't think there was medical misinformation in that video. Right? Now I'm on the edge. I'm really skating the edge here when I start having thoughts like that. When I'm questioning YouTube as being the arbiter of what's medical misinformation, I'm in trouble. My soul's in trouble at this point, right? I'm getting dangerously close to too much freedom. And this particular video was actually me reading my article, The Sacred Right and Left, or The Sacred Left and Right, I think. which I wrote over 2 years ago. And so I could, because that's what the video was, I could actually go back and read the article myself and be like, is under what YouTube believes medical misinformation is anything in this article amount to that? And, I've definitely written things that YouTube would consider that way in other articles. But in this one, I really didn't. In this one, I wrote, before I go any further, I want to talk about another lesson that I learned. Thank you, YouTube, for teaching me this lesson too. What I learned is that actually there was some stuff that I said in a previous YouTube video. Lockdowns, what's the name of the video? Something about lockdowns. Lockdowns evoked a political crisis in my heart, or something like that. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But it was another article that I had written about the same time in the summer of 2020, summer and fall of 2020. And in that article, I did say some things that, probably YouTube might consider to fall under their policy. But I did something different with that video. Instead of, using the word that we all use to describe that thing that you inject into your arm that has sort of pharmaceutical products that are intended to supposedly prevent infection and transmission of a disease. Instead of using that word that we all know, I think I used the word stabby. I just called them stabbies. I got that word from Jay Dyer. He uses code words entirely. That's why he's still on YouTube. On another video, I used the word boop boop, which I picked up from Jason Burmis, also still on YouTube, although they've given him some strikes. But that's what I learned. It's like, oh, it's not medical misinformation if I call this a stabby, or maybe just call it a dubida. If I said something about the effects of dubidas, and if I said hey, there's the research that I've looked at that said such and such about dubidas, and here's the implications of that if it's true, and a specific kind of dubida, right? So rather than the disease, the illness that everybody's been talking about for the past few years, rather than using the name of that, I can call it the koof. So when I use the koof dubida, what kind of effects does the koof dubida have? Is the koof dubida causing heart problems? I don't know. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying people are saying that, because I don't even know. Maybe even saying koof dubida is too much. What about blood clots? I better not say much about that. But I might be able to say some things about the koof dubida. Another one is I might be able to talk about things like Jimmy jobs. What's a Jimmy job, you ask? Well, Jimmy job is my word for this thing that we put over our face and wear around while it's on our face. That people have been doing a lot lately. Been a lot of Jimmy job wearing. So if I talk about Jimmy jobs and don't say the word that we usually use to talk about Jimmy jobs, then it's not medical misinformation. That's what I learned from YouTube. So that's good to know. That's really good to know. So in order, because I want to do my part. I want to help fight the battle against medical misinformation and all kinds of misinformation. It's a serious problem. There's just people, they're saying stuff, and their ideas are getting into people's minds and causing harm. They cause harm in their minds when they say these words. And we just want to stop the harm. And luckily YouTube has so much power that it can be in the position of deciding what's harmful and what isn't, rather than individual people deciding what's harmful and what isn't, rather than having a free society where people openly debate ideas in order to arrive at a better understanding of what's true. Luckily, we've learned that that was a terrible idea. Terrible idea. All those people that wrote the Constitution of the United States, signed the Declaration of Independence, we had all those ideas about the rights of man and limited government and freedom of religion and freedom of speech, and wow, they just got it so wrong. They were so wrong. They were dead wrong about that. Now we know because YouTube told us. And other people have told us, our fearless leader, the President Biden has told us about this. So grateful, about all the harm that we have to, prevent through all this censorship. It's great. Learning all about how the big tech companies have been working hand in glove with the FBI and the administration itself to help keep us safe from ideas, from free speech. So, wow, that's great. Because if people have free access to ideas, they might vote the wrong way. That's also important. I used to think that democracy was about how the people would actually choose. They would take in their information and do their own reasoning, and then they would get to choose themselves who to vote for. And there'd be disagreement. People would want to vote for different people and different policies. And I used to think that made sense. That it's okay, this is how regular people can be, to a certain extent, enfranchised, or at least influence those who are holding power. We're trying to bring in a greater balance of power by having free elections. But now we know better. We know better. So grateful to know better now. What's important now is that people vote the right way. They need to only vote. It's okay if some people vote for the wrong person, as long as less people vote for the wrong person than for the right person. And so what's really important is how can we use propaganda and media manipulation and censorship and suppression of certain stories, certain news articles, certain facts, certain opinions. How can we suppress those things using the power of the internet so that people will vote the right way? And thankfully, that's exactly what happened. In that big election that I probably better not say too much about either. Because watch out. Watch out. So thanks, YouTube, for keeping me on the straight and narrow. What I've come to understand is that there are experts and people who hold power. And these people, we can find them in corporations, we can find them in government, we can find them in the media, and we can find them at research institutions, in the military. We get a sense of these are the people who have power, and they decide what's true. And whatever they say is true no matter what, period, regardless of evidence and facts. That's what I've come to understand. I didn't used to get that part. Like that, I used to think it was different. I used to think that evidence and facts revealed what was true. And there could be disagreement over evidence and facts and reasoning. And so then we would have to have open dialogue to kind of go through all the evidence and all the facts and all the different kinds of reasoning in order to get closer to what's true. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong, and I'm so grateful to be corrected. So anyway, but it took me a while because all of my subversive ideas that I used to have about democracy and freedom and independence of the individual and the individual conscience and mind and voice. All of that wrong think, so just being clear, that's wrong think. And people know about the wrong think. So all of that wrong think, it took me a while to flush it out of my system. So that's why I'm doing episodes. So it's taken me a while to kind of get like the courage back up to be like, hey, can I get back on there and stop causing harm, right? I don't want my videos to get taken down. If YouTube takes down my video, it means I've caused harm. So YouTube decides whether that's happened or not. And they're really good at it. And I could say something like, well, I never voted for YouTube to decide what caused harm, but that'd be a silly thing to say because we know it's not about voting anymore. Voting is just an action that you do to confirm the people who already have power. Right? So YouTube had power because they took power, because they're better. That's how I know that they have access to the truth. And you know what? It's like, okay, maybe this is a little fringy, but even if YouTube is saying things are true that are not true, and even if YouTube is saying things are not true that are true, it's better that they still be allowed to censor whatever they want. If I said something, let's say I said like fact A about the Jimmy Job. I said the Jimmy Job does the doobada. The Jimmy Job and the doobada are causing harm. Suppose I said that. And then, but YouTube's decided, well, we don't want people to think that Jimmy Jobs and doobadas cause harm. Even if they are. So we're going to say that that's not true, even if it is. And that's better. And it's better if because YouTube gets to decide, it's not really actually about what's true. It's about what they want people to believe in and do, right? So YouTube wants people to believe certain things and behave in certain ways that are better, okay? That's how this works. And it's not just YouTube. There's lots of people at the World Economic Forum, great bunch of folks, and they have ideas about what people should believe and what they should do and how they should behave. And they've worked it all out. They're very smart people. They're very smart people, like Yuval Noah Harari. I don't know if you ever listened to that guy talk, but I mean, he's the best, right? He just goes out there and he's just talks about these people that the useless eaters. What does we do with the useless eaters? And I'm like, wow, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before. That like people are like eating. I guess he didn't call them useless eaters. Maybe he did. Well, we might be sure. I'm not spreading misinformation. He did call people, like a vast majority of people, useless. Useless people. Right? And it's just like, wow, it never occurred to me before that people could be useless. I used to think that people were sacred in and of themselves, as an end unto themselves. That a human being was not somebody who was like useful or not useful, right? Useful to who, by the way? Well, useful to the WEF, right? And the people who run it. Well, those are the important people. Those are the people who are useful. But you can listen to him talk. You say, the time is coming where we become like gods. It's Homo Deus. We will become so great and powerful past the limits of what you can imagine. We'll be like a different species. There will be no relationship between regular humans, which will become obsolete. These are the great kinds of things they're cooking up for us at the World Economic Forum, but they have to get us there. That's the thing. We're trying to get to this world where like regular human beings are obsolete. Because there's better human beings that have been modified with nanobots and all kinds of injected doobadas that are changing their DNA. And bringing nanobots in the system where they're just changing everything in there. Getting Neuralinks implanted in. Right? We got to get to that world so that we can make human beings better. Human 2.0. And human 1.0 will go the way of the dodo bird. But we have to get there. Because all of us human 1.0s, we might not want to become this cyborg, created virtual half-robot thing. We might not want that. So that's why we need companies like YouTube to suppress certain ideas and emphasize other ideas so that people will believe the right thing. And it's not just YouTube's responsibility. This is important for Facebook to be doing. It's important for our governments to be doing it. It's important for our news networks to be doing it. And all the different media companies and our universities, all the different institutions that we rely on to tell us what's true. It's important that what they tell us is not constrained by what's actually true, but is designed to get us to believe things that will get us to this beautiful world of obsolete human beings that the WEF has planned for us. So these are some of the things I've learned, and I'm very grateful. And I just wanted to share that with you today. Like I learned about how, another thing I learned, because I went back and I read that article where the video for it got taken down. And by the way, I don't know if I should say this, but like in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to the video that was taken down, but only because, because there's other platforms that don't censor, like Odyssey. But the only reason I'm putting the link in there, just so you know, is so that you'll know what not to do, right? So that you'll be like, okay, I saw where Relendra was bad, and I know to not listen to any of this, to believe that all of this is not true because it's harmful. But what I actually learned was that in that video, whenever I said, whenever I talked about the doobadas and the jimmy jobs, and the lockdowns, I think I'm allowed to say lockdown. I think that's okay. Well, if not, let me come up with a different word for lockdown, like the smash. So the jimmy job, the doobadas, and the smash. Critical of those things. I've been critical of those things. I've been bad. Because I've been accessing lots of facts and analysis and doing my own reasoning, and I haven't been bad. Had some critiques of jimmy jobs, doobadas, and the smash. So, but in this article, I really wasn't, I was saying like, hey, people disagree about the jimmy jobs and the doobadas and the smash. Right? In fact, in this article, I didn't even talk about the jimmy jobs, the doobadas. Because it was written before, like, those were even, like, a thing yet. At least the koof doobadas were not a thing yet. So it was really just about Jimmy Jobs and the Smash. And I wasn't even saying in my other article, which didn't get taken down, but which I was using code words, I did kind of like share my opinion about them a little bit. But in this article, which did get taken down, I didn't actually give my opinion on them. I just said, hey, it's possible for people to think different things about what's true about these. And if you think this is true, then you might believe these other things are true. And if you think this is true, you might believe these other things are true. I was really just exploring sort of the implications of what we believe. But I learned that might have been medical misinformation, right? Not because I was contradicting anything that was said by our fearless leaders in the public health institutions. Because I wasn't saying anything about like whether I thought those were true or false. I was just talking about what people might do if they believed certain things. But yeah, that's not the point. The point is that for me to bring this up so people are even thinking about it at all. And not even that, but the ideas that I was saying, like, people might think are true, like let's say about the Jimmy Jobs, for instance. Well, now, in December 2022, there's widespread agreement that the critiques that were made about the Jimmy Jobs, back when I wrote that article, were actually true. It's been admitted by our public health authorities. They've told us. But that's something else I learned about medical information and how it works. The medical information goes back in time to the time that the thought crime occurred. So let's say it's 2020 and the public health institution is saying, wear a Jimmy Job and it's going to keep you from getting the coof and it'll keep other people from getting the coof from you. And then 2 years later, that same institution is saying, you know, those Jimmy Jobs, they really don't help very much, if at all. Okay, but the reason it's misinformation for me to put out a video now that says I don't think the Jimmy Jobs help much against the coof is because when the thought formed in my head, the public health institution was still saying that it was helpful. So, like, my statements have to go back in time to when the thought occurred in my head to discern whether I had experienced thought crime in the past. And if I did experience thought crime in the past, then if I say it now, it's still a thought crime. Well, that's one of my theories. It's very hard because, you know, YouTube won't say anything. I did appeal YouTube's decision. I said, hey, YouTube, I went through this video. I don't think that I said anything that's medical misinformation. And, you know, their algorithms and robots waited about half an hour, and then they responded to me and they said, well, we've reviewed your case and we're definitely sure that this was misinformation, so the YouTube's down permanently, and if you do it again, you get a permanent strike on your record. But they still never told me what the thing was that was said that amounted to that. So, and like here I am, you know, real talk with Relendra. I'm praising YouTube. They did it right. They should be censoring our thoughts. They should be protecting us from ideas that are dangerous to the designs and goals of the World Economic Forum and the other post-humanists and surveillance state billionaires in the making. They should be doing that. That's what I'm saying here, right? But they might think I'm being sarcastic. I gotta live with that danger. They might think that I don't really believe it's a good idea for YouTube and Facebook to be doing these kinds of things. They might not believe me when I say that I think it's a good thing that people's bank accounts can be shut down because of their beliefs. They might not think I really believe that. So I got to be careful and use the code words. But as long as we all speak in code forever and just come up with new words, we'll just keep changing the words to talk about certain sensitive things. And then we'll all get to that great place. So thanks for tuning in. It's good to be back. Thanks for waiting for me during my long absence. And I want to leave you now with sort of like a public service video. I'll put up this as a separate video as well. And it's about safe cuddling during the coof. When the coof is rampant, how do you cuddle safely? Well, obviously the answer is virtually. You cuddle virtually. But I'll let you watch the video and observe that for yourself. And I hope it warms your heart. Okay. I'm Relendra. It's great to be with you. Take care. I wanted to welcome you to a COVID-safe virtual cuddle session. You know, we just gotta be safe these days with the way things are. But, you know, we can still cuddle. Hold on a second. I just realized we've got to be safe. So let me get my mask on. Okay. And, oh. Now the CDC says, let's wear 2 masks to be safe. We gotta be safe and stop the spread. And some people don't wear gloves, but I like to wear gloves just because, you know, just want to be safe. Let's get my cuddle gloves on. Okay. So I got the cuddle gloves, cuddle mask, 2 layers. My 2 layers, my gloves. Okay. Now I'm ready to cuddle. So let's just imagine that we're cuddling. Just getting comfortable. You know, like, okay. You know, just let yourself get comfortable. Okay. Oh, it feels so good to have human touch. Is what I'd be saying right now. You know, if I was one of those unsafe people, which I'm not. I'm safe. Safe cuddler, safe virtual cuddler. Okay. Oh, this is nice. This is nice. Okay. You know, I should, like, start charging for this. This is, you know, I bet there's a lot of people who want to have cuddle right now, you know, with everything that's going on. And they want to have it safe. So, it's a good idea. I'll start a meetup. Start a meetup group for COVID-safe cuddles.